Hi guys, welcome to Antique Sprinklers. I'm very happy to have you watching. Today we're going to be talking about a Buckner sprinkler, a Rocker Jet. And if you like sprinkler videos and want to see more, please feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I try to put out a new video every week on a sprinkler from the history of the irrigation industry. William Buckner was a dispatcher for the Santa Fe Railroad around the turn of the century, working in the San Joaquin Valley. And on nights and weekends, he would tinker in his shop trying to create a slow rotating sprinkler for turf. The San Joaquin Valley was fairly well irrigated, and overhead systems had come into vogue for agriculture, really starting at the end of the 1800s with Charles Skinner's Skinner system. But there was nothing like that for the turf market. That was mostly still handled by hoses. And in 1912, he was awarded a patent for his work. And shortly after that, the Del Monte Corporation, who were planning a golf course overlooking the Pacific Ocean in California, contacted him and asked if he would be interested in supplying sprinklers for it. And so he reached out to a local manufacturing firm and made an agreement to contract with them to build the sprinklers if he won the award to irrigate this new golf course. And of course, this is a little bit of a risk for him because he has his day job still with the railroad. He did end up getting the contract, and that work ended up being the first hoseless golf course irrigation system in the world, and really kicked off the modern golf and turf irrigation industry. And that golf course, probably nobody's heard of it, but it was called Pebble Beach. So at some point I'd really like to put together a video, even if I'm the only one who watches it, about more of the history of Buckner manufacturing. I think it's fascinating. They grew to be the dominant brand and then suffered some setbacks after that. And the way that company changed hands over the years is kind of interesting to me, especially in that period between about 1960 and 1985. But who knows? I hope to get to that one day. I'm a big fan of Buckner, having sold their products in the golf and sports turf market in the late 80s through the mid 90s. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at the Buckner Rocker Jet. So the Rocker Jet is basically a vertical impact sprinkler. Instead of the lever going side to side as a typical impact does, this lever moves up and down to create the motion of the sprinkler. And you can see in the part circle variants of the Rocker Jet, you have a bifurcated spoon on it. So it depends on which of these spoons that the stream from the nozzle is hitting as to which direction the sprinkler is going to rotate. Typically, the lever is made out of aluminum on these guys, and there's kind of a counterweight in the back where the lever gets a little bit thicker. The bodies are bronze, and then the nozzles and some of the fittings are yellow brass. This one is interesting in particular to me. First of all, the 511 is not one you see very often out there anymore. I don't think it existed for more than a couple of years in production. It has a two-piece nozzle. So let's see if you can see it here. You have a brass nozzle where the water comes out, and then you have this bit that you hold on with a set screw that creates the diffusion by threading in the diffusion pin on the far end, and all these pieces are bronze and brass. And then the other bit that's really interesting to me, you have the early part circle where you've got this hoop style trip mechanism. You can see it's kind of rounded. And the pin that trips it is in front instead of behind. And then for the arc stops, they are these brass pieces here. But what's really nice is you have kind of this thumb screw on it that you can tighten down into place. And so it really makes for a wide range of possible settings. Later models had the same tabs, but what held them in place, a plate with a lot of little jagged pieces on it that you would click into place, and maybe that was a more positive arc stop. But I think it created a situation where every one of those was like adjusting it by 2 degrees or so, so you couldn't fine-tune it quite as much, but it probably held the adjustment a lot better. And then down on the bottom, I really like this. You've got the B with the water drop behind it for the logo. And then, of course, on the back, like all rocker jets, you've got the manufacturer, the model number, and some patent information. So rocker jets were made from the 1950s to around 1980. In any event, the rocker jet is a really unique sprinkler. And instead of my talking about it forever, why don't we watch it in operation?